The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Wednesday.
And it's the day from hell.
It's hump day.
Yep. Okay. And let me tell you something. I think this rebranding campaign of the mayor showing that we don't like historical artifacts or planters in the city cemeteries is really making a big bang. You know, we broke this story over the weekend first. The Herald News seemed to pick it up, I guess, Monday, late in the evening on their website, and then it went on to the newspaper in yesterday's edition. And the mayor has been doing nothing but answering questions, and I met with WJAR TV 10 yesterday, and the mayor said that these rules have been in place for years. We've just never enforced them. Well, that, to me, equates to a past practice.
Yeah, well, in label law,
I love to throw that in their face because that's what they always say. Our past practice, our past practice. Well, guess what?
Yeah, well, they use past practice a lot to justify when they're doing something, but when somebody else tries it, they'll go, well, it's not really a past practice, it's only in labor law. But a past practice, for those of you who don't know the tenets, it's stipulated under 150E for collective bargaining that it actually even supersedes language in the contract. It has to be done for a long period of time, which the mayor has admitted it was done. It had to be understood by both parties, so obviously the city understood it because they disregarded it, and the people did because they disregarded whatever regulations were there, so therefore it's an established practice. But what disturbs me about this article is when people like Mr. Caminiti say, I think we did the city a service to this city. Well, you know, one man's service is another man's total callous disregard for people. And you know, I know that the city's launching. I don't know how many times they've done it about what to put in your recyclables. So they're reaching out to the city, to the residents, and actually attempting to educate them. I think there was a far better way to do this if they were going to consider doing this. They've already discussed it. Supposedly, that the complaints that initiated this second cleanup and taking away historical artifacts was caused by people who were complying about people who didn't comply. So we went over it in the last show. Doesn't make any sense. How many, you know, you look at the size of that pile of debris. There can't be a lot of people that they didn't clean up on the first go-round. So this second go-round was basically taking out things that they shouldn't have been taking out, the majority, because those were historical, you know, and preceded these regulations. And by the way, normally when you institute regulations like this, if you don't grandfather the existing things in, you have to give people the opportunity and make sure that the people who are not grandfathered in have the opportunity to adjust. And I don't think that was done. As usual, you know, they did whatever they wanted to do with a total disregard for people. The only people they have a regard for are the people who give them campaign contributions or they have a relationship with from another state, it seems. There's just, they don't care. And to say you did a service to the people, well, you're only doing a service to the people when you do something that the people want. Otherwise, it's not really a service. So obviously, based on the outrage that we're seeing from this is not, you know, that may be your opinion, but that opinion obviously is not shared by a lot of people, and you didn't check, you know, with the Historical Commission and other people you should have checked with, before you entered into this. You just did whatever the hell you wanted because somebody gave you a title or put you on a committee. Period.
Well, when I left the studio on Monday, I was driving down Oak Grove Avenue. I said, you know what? I'm going to stop in there, and I'm going to see what's going on. When I pulled in, Faust Fiore was there with two members of the historic preservation groups. One was from the Friends of Oak Grove Cemetery. Another was a gentleman I did not know, but Michael Keene was there. And they were stating that these items were from 1920 and possibly earlier. And the mayor said that they were from as far back as 20 years ago, prior to this meeting. And he still stands by that they weren't that old. Now, Linda Pereira showed up while she was still on the air.
And obviously, he's a antiquities expert.
Yes.
Okay.
Amongst the many other things that the boy emperor is, he's now an antiquities expert. And when Linda showed up, Faust had to make a beeline out of there with the undisclosed gentleman who was a historical expert, while Michael Keene was still there talking with Linda, because Linda had just gotten off the radio when she showed up. Next thing you know, Deb Allard and Dave Souza show up from Pravda, the Herald News, and they start taking pictures of everything. The pile of articles and artifacts that was there was greatly diminished by probably about 3/4. It was all single level. Now, here's the thing that makes this questionable at best. When you pull into that debris area, that dump, whatever you want to call it, off to the right is a small hill which goes up to another area where they put items. They had taken a backhoe and gone up, and you could see the freshly laid tracks going up the hill and through the mud. And they dumped branches, debris, other natural occurring, floral items, whatever the case may be, over the pots, planters, and urns that they dumped up there.
Camouflage.
They camouflaged it, okay?
They're great at camouflaging, whether it's a pig or a car. They're great at camouflaging.
Yeah, but the thing was is that people actually went up there and they were digging through that to take out these planters and these pots, which are all gone. Only thing left really was the broken stuff. And if you saw the Channel 10 news story last night, they actually showed city workers carefully loading them onto hand trucks, tagging them to catalog them and place them in storage, a secure area to protect them. Well, why didn't you do that in the first place? That's the first thing. Secondly, maybe if you would have left them in place, they never got touched then. Why would they get touched now? Why? Because you put them in a dump. And now and Mr. Mayor, you're doing this. You and your park Nazis are doing this. You're now adding to the cost. So was this cleanup of items that have been in place for 90 plus years so necessary that you're now racking on another cost to the city taxpayer? Now, here's something nobody knows. The city has in the perpetual care account. Perpetual care is money that is put aside and is collected from the people who buy the graves to take care of the grass, the hedges, the headstones, broken planters, vases, whatever the case may be. You want to take a guess how much money's in there, Chip?
No, I wouldn't even attempt that.
$1.74 million.
Well, you should have never said that on the air. Now they're going to try to dip into that and find some way to grab it.
Well, I'm wondering if they've already been dipping into it.
Could be.
You never know, because again, $1.74 million to take care of this cemetery. And what's their argument? We don't have enough workers to do the job.
But we have to bond for lawnmowers. Remember
That's right.
that.
We have to bond
we
for
have
lawnmowers.
to bond for lawnmowers.
That's right.
Because even though we got $1.7 million for perpetual care, we can't buy equipment. We can saddle the taxpayers with another bond.
Right, exactly.
So there we go.
Yep.
Again, it's spend, and that's what we do. But look, refresh my memory. Didn't we already have a cleanup there?
Yes, we did. Back in May.
So this is what confuses me. We already had a cleanup. So obviously, they complied, or whoever was commissioned to do that either didn't do their job and clean up properly, or those things were assumed to be okay at one time.
Right.
And then another decision had to be made because that wasn't it wasn't like 6 or 12 urns. There was a whole pile of stuff there.
There were hundreds.
So there were hundreds of them. So that means in the first cleanup, what did they do? Were they all blind? Did they miss hundreds of urns? Or did somebody then make the decision, you know something? We don't only want these other urns. These urns have been there for years, and they were probably grandfathered in. So the hell with it. Let's just take them all out because I don't like them. Or, I want to show how much power I have. Again, a total disregard for the taxpayer.
The sad part about it was, as I was there with City Councilor Pereira and members of the Herald News press team, Jason Caminiti got out of his car, pointed his finger, and said, "This is your fault." Because the pictures of this were placed on social media. And I didn't place them on social media. Linda didn't place them on social media. The Herald News didn't print them on social media. The Historic Commission put them on social media because they were PO'd.
And regardless of who placed them, they should have been placed.
That's right.
You have a right. You have a right in this community. And by the way, regardless is the correct word, not irregardless.
Right.
It's a double negative for all you people who like to use irregardless. You like to use that word. It's really grammatically incorrect because it's a double negative. But this is the whole problem. They can take pictures of themselves and have photo ops, and they can get 1 million photo ops. And place these inane pictures of themselves, standing in front of a building, but when someone from a historical commission or even someone as a citizen, you've got a right to do that. You've got a right. If you don't like something, you have a right to your opinion. And when I watched the vice presidential debate last night, which was kind of interesting.
It was funny.
I really enjoyed it because you had Hillary's vice president acting like Trump, and they blamed Trump for interrupting, and all he did was interrupt. And then you have the other guy acting like Hillary because he was very kind of even keeled. But there were a lot of things said. But you know something? One of the greatest things I saw in that debate was they differed because of their philosophical differences. They were both very religious people, but I believe Kane said that we disagree, but I understand, and you have a right to your opinion. So let's not forget that. That debate, there were a couple things that were really important that was said. And I think one of the things that was said was, regardless of your religious opinions, when you're an elected official, you have to abide by the law. There is a separation between church and state. And also that you have a right to your opinion. They differed on a lot of things. They differed on the accuracy and stuff. But when there was something that was a philosophical difference that was outside the public realm, two people who were running for the second highest office in this nation understood that this is what makes America. Even if you're the only person in the continental United States or Alaska or Hawaii outside the continental United States, you have a right to be the only person who believes something. That's the great thing about America. You can be the only person that thinks it's wrong, but you do have a fundamental right. And for someone on a city board to think that you don't have a right to post a picture and it's your fault because you brought his decision-making under scrutiny, well, you don't belong on a board because you know something? Whenever you take a position like that, you're supposed to put your crap helmet on because that comes with the territory. Whenever you take a job that puts you in a position where you make decisions, there are going to be people who don't agree with those decisions or positions that you have to take. And that comes with it. And if you don't ever want to be if you want to be in a position where everybody agrees with everything you say, lock yourself in a room for the rest of your life, because it's never going to happen. Because even if you, regardless of your position, even if you have no position, if you walk into the coffee shop and make a statement, somebody may disagree with it. So if you don't ever want to have anybody disagree with you, don't take a position on any board or any position of authority or any position of leadership, because it comes with the territory. And that disturbs me when these people start pointing fingers and said, it's your fault. You're damn right it's our fault. Because it deserved to be aired publicly.
Yep, and the thing is that what happened at Oak Grove Cemetery on Monday afternoon was an absolute excrement show. I mean, the crap was flying everywhere. And when he stood there and he looked square in the face, Linda Pereira, and said, "We did the city a service." And everyone's standing there, "What kind of service did you do?" He says, "Where's the first place they spray for mosquitoes? Right here at Oak Grove Cemetery. By getting rid of these planters and pots, we got rid of the mosquitoes."
Oh, really? Now he's with the...
I guess those are the mosquito condoms.
Now he's with the CDC.
Yeah, I guess.
So like mosquito spray doesn't land in the urn.
Right.
When they spray.
That's their condos. That's the mosquito condos, okay?
Well, but Mr. Caminiti, mosquitoes breed in
water.
In water.
Yeah.
In stagnant water. And that's where the mosquitoes don't breed in urns. They breed in stagnant water.
And the worst part about it was a lot of these planters and urns and whatnot all had drain holes in the bottoms.
Look,
I can't figure it out.
Yeah, the old political thing is when pressed and when in doubt, always tell a lie.
Yeah,
that came from the Goebbels playbook.
Yeah, and
lie.
When
you got caught, lie.
It seemed to work, and I'm sorry, but people are now asking for what I touted earlier this week. The resignation or termination of the entire park board and of Nancy Smith. And I think that would be appropriate. But you know what the mayor's solution was?
A pay raise.
Well, he did offer Nancy Smith a pay raise.
A big pay raise.
A big pay raise. But his solution is to now add another member to the park board from the Historic Commission, so that before anything like this happens again, not that it could, because I don't think there's anything left, they'll have to sign off on it. No, he's one member of 5 then.
Yeah, so he'll get outvoted
every time.
Exactly. So if he says he wants something and they don't want it, and the mayor wants it, so that's ludicrous.
Now here's the real kicker to this whole thing.
We are now in ludicrous speed.
Oh no, we're gonna go beyond that right now. The meeting that they did this on the 14th, which we had bits and pieces of it here, took the vote to do this based upon citizens' input. The item was not on the agenda. Therefore, it is a violation of what? Massachusetts General Law 30A, the open meeting law.
Ah, the bane, the open meeting law. Oh, geez. Yeah. Well,
so now, that not only did they violate the open meeting law, they passed something which is illegal because it wasn't even on the agenda. What they could have done was say, okay, we'll put this on the next agenda to address it. No, instead they debated it, made a motion, and they can't say that they didn't foresee it, because they can do that if they didn't foresee it. Because Nancy Smith said, I invited Mr. Santos here to give this input. Well, guess what? You knew what was going to come out of it. So it should have been on your agenda. So, of course, the open meeting law writer, not me this time, wrote the complaints.
We know who it is.
So does everyone else. And this is the problem. So this just gets to be nutty. And, it's getting nuttier and nuttier every day. So, I received this notice from the Attorney General yesterday. And Pravda wrote about it after, shortly after the Attorney General released it. That a Fall River company is ordered to pay $275,000 following discrimination complaint. The company that owns, which company? Lightolier. Lightolier agreed to pay 51 female employees a total of $275,000 to settle a discrimination complaint. Genlyte Thomas Group of Somerset, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Is that in Fall River? Oh, no, wait a minute. It's in New Jersey.
It's in New Jersey.
Yeah. So, again, a company. Go ahead.
Okay. The Lightolier division is in Fall River. What they were doing was they were paying women one price and men another. Unfair labor practice. Unfair wage discrimination, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Again, now remember, I think Lightolier got a couple of big tiffs from Fall River at one time.
Yeah. And I think an important thing is down in the the fifth paragraph that says, at the time, 12 of 51 employees.
Right.
So here's a company that's been here forever, and they still only employ about 23% of those females were from Fall River.
Right.
Which means that over 70, which means that basically 77% were not Fall River residents. So again, this is, and I think that's actually, the sad part about this article is, well, number one, discrimination. If you do a job, you should get the same pay. Equal work, equal pay. That's the way it is. If you drive a cab, you shouldn't get less for driving a cab than a male cab driver because you're driving a cab. If you're working and doing the same thing on an assembly line, you should get the same work. And I'm glad this complaint was won. But it brings up another major issue, just like this Earn thing did with the disregard for the people of Fall River and what they think. But this brings up, again, these companies, these supposedly big companies that come to Fall River, they never ever tell us how many people from Fall River were working there. You'll never be able to get how many people Amazon hired. They're saying they're going to hire 500, then another 500. Well, how many of those 1,000 people are from Fall River? How many people for the other TIF that they're gonna give for the expansion? How many people are employed right now before you give them the TIF for that expansion? Did anyone demand to know how many people that are working in that plant are from Fall River? The answer to that is the council never does. And they never get an answer. And if they do ask, they don't get an answer, and then they don't press for the answer. So again, this whole issue, brings up something on a national level about, there is discrimination, and it shouldn't be there. But most of all, I think what was really telling was the number of people. And Lightolier's been here for years. It's not like they just came in and they couldn't get a workforce. They're
like
all
Amazon.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, these people have been here for a long time. They're personnel office. I'm sure Fall River people have applied, but to have only 23%. When 100% of that plant rests in Fall River, is really not a great. It's not a great endorsement of how good our Office of Economic Destruction is doing, or our city leaders, because they categorically refuse to demand a percentage of people from Fall River to be employed. They will not do that. They say it can't be done, and they're full of crap. It can be done. It has been done. It's been done in Boston. It's been done in Providence. It's been done all over this country. If you're going to get something, you got to give something. But that's why some of these things finally, they come grudgingly to Fall River, because they get everything without giving anything.
That's it. And, while we're on this labor issue, because I've got one thing that we definitely have to cover, which is going to take about 2 minutes. And Amazon, the doors are open. Several of my sources, and I've confirmed it from several individuals from the same company, that being UPS, what can Brown do for you, is very, very fed up. Because Amazon doesn't have enough employees. And they are making UPS drivers work like dogs. Not like they don't already do it. And when they get there, they have to not only sort, but they have to pick and load all the packages that have to go out for Amazon. And because, quote unquote, they were told we don't have enough employees.
Well, you know, fewer employees mean more money for the bigwigs.
That's right.
That the profit margin is increased. And if they can get away with it, they will. That's
it.
simple.
So, I mean, you've got employees of a third party that are fed up. And I know one of our viewers knows one of these men in brown very well. And, you know, it's just getting worse and worse as we look at this. And what did we say Amazon was before they even opened the doors?
A predatory company.
Predatory company. And this is proving it. So not only are they preying on our citizens, which are very few working there, by the way. They won't give us a number, but, you know, it ranges, the different stories I've gotten range anywhere from 14 to 40. So, but that's still very few out of a 500 or 1,000 people. They're now preying on their vendors. And they're making them do their work. Don't you have a shipping department? I mean, every other company I've ever known, they have a shipping department. They load it all up. They put it on pallets. They shrink wrap it. The shipping company comes in. They use a pallet jack, pick it up, move it in. They're done.
And if they could get rid of everybody and replace them with robots, they would.
And they're going to do that.
And they're going to do that,
yeah.
exactly. That, you know, and that's the thing. Look, these companies are in it for one thing, like the pharmaceutical companies, like the other companies. They're in it for the profit. The more profit they get, and they don't care. It's not a reasonable or even a great profit margin. They want the maximum. They're like they're like kind of like the city of Fall River and its tax rate. You know. Oh, and that's the other thing about the vice president. I got to quickly get in. Did you see the discussion on both tax plans?
Yeah.
How it will help the economy by reducing taxes?
Yeah.
Mayor Correa, City Council. The people who vote in all these fee increases and tax increases, get your head out of your rectums.
And now I have to take us right over to this. Parents' choice, school choice, fiscal accountability, school performance, and what can be done. All questions for the ballot on November 8th. South Coast Media, Spindle City Straight Talk, and Bristol Community College is proud to present the People's Debate, Question 2, Lifting the Charter School Cap, on Monday, October 17th at 7 p.m. at the Bristol Community College Jackson Arts Center, 777 Ellsbury Street in Fall River. Tickets for the event are required and free at question2.eventbrite.com. And your questions can be submitted to debate at scstonline.com. Remember, this is your debate on a highly controversial topic. See you October 17th at 7 p.m.
Boy, what timing, huh?
Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah, and the voice was a little familiar too.
Yeah, I don't know who that jerk is.
Extremely important topic, and as you can see, the vote yes is spending a lot of money. There's a commercial like there's commercials everywhere.
And you know
I'm even getting commercials when I go to YouTube to look at something. I've got commercials on YouTube. So they're spending a ton of money.
The real interesting part about it is the no on two people are very difficult to lock them down on certain things. But I'll tell you now, the ticket requests have started to climb rapidly. There's 12 days before this event. You must have a ticket for admission. No ticky, no surety. Okay? And if you're a member of the press, you must be credentialed. We only have a limited number of seats. We are currently finalizing with 2 major media outlets in our area and 1 in Springfield. 1 in Boston, 1 in Providence.